Hello, my friends. It's Andy Falco Jimenez coming to you live from Yorba Linda, California, in the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District. And I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about this culture change that I titled the broadcast today, because it really is an important issue, thing, an important aspect of what happens when parents rise up and are patient and continue to fight and participate in the elections that are occurring in their community and go door to door and tell people about what's happening in the schools. When you do all those things, and it doesn't happen fast, you can first create change in who's in charge of your district. So we're going to speak directly about districts right now. Is that when you want to make a change to your school district, district wide, is to get involved. I'll be talking to the California Parents Alliance audience right now. Is that you're probably finding our website, you're coming to the organization because you're wondering, what is it and how is it that you were able to make changes in the PYLUSD, but yet in the LA County school districts or the Ventura school districts or what have you, wherever, San Diego, we just aren't simply seeing the changes yet. Well, your culture may be so far ensconced, I think is maybe the best word I go with, so deep that it's just going to take you a little bit longer. And it's going to take a little bit more effort, and it's going to take a bit more organization from parents, because it's not parents that are causing the problems necessarily. There are some. We surely have a few parents that are for the castration of boys and the I don't know what you call it when you cut the breasts off of girls to make them, in an attempt to make them boys, or that are for. We have parents that are for pornography in the schools. They're lost souls, they're lost people, and should be arrested for child abuse. But there are far more, which I'm learning, there are far more parents that care about their children's education and do not want these things done to their kids. They do not want their kids indoctrinated. One of the problems is many of them are still silent and are afraid. They're afraid of what their neighbors will think. They're afraid of what their family will think. And they're somewhat lost too, but not as much as the parents who are clearly for the nonsense that we see is happening in school districts across the world. So the reason you're not seeing change is because it's just a little bit deeper in your districts, and you need to continue to fight. You don't give up. You don't stop. I know many people have left California. Many parents have taken their kids out of school. That's just, it is your choice, and and you have to do what's right and what feels right for you. But those of us who've decided to stay and fight have seen what happens when you fight. And the PYLUSD is one of those districts. We can see it in the Orange Unified District, that although the demonic likes of the teachers union is fighting back hard in Orange. We've seen positive changes in the Chino Valley School District. We see a big fight in the Temecula Valley School District. So they will fight back. It's not that once we are able to make inroads and make some changes in the school board and the superintendents, that it's going to be an easy road. It's not an easy road. It's still hard. Bringing it back to PYLUSD, as we have now a majority of school board members who care about education and are not for any of the nonsense that I just brought up, the castration of kids, the sexualization of kids through CRT, DEI, and SEL, and all the other ways that they bring the sexualization of our kids into our school, the pornography that's found in the libraries and are being handed out by some teachers, not all teachers, but some teachers. that we have the majority of school board members who are for education and none of those other things. With that, we are able to bring on a fantastic superintendent, Alex Chunis, who is already making changes. One of the biggest things is he's changing the culture. That's the most important thing about this particular message that you need to understand. Those of you that have kids or grandkids or nephews or nieces in the PYLUSD, and some of the you that have pulled them out for the time being, waiting to see what's going to happen at the PYLUSD, is that the culture change is beginning. The change is beginning. And it is happening a lot faster, I think, than even some of our school members thought that it would happen, and many of our parents. And I'm going to have a warning about this later, so I hope I don't forget. If you're watching, make sure in the comments as we get another 15 minutes in, hey, don't forget, Andy, to talk about the warning, because I want to make sure and address the warning. So what does it mean to make a culture change? You may have heard this, with culture change in a business or culture change maybe in a home or an organization of some sort. And that is that there is an invisible power that happens within every organization, where there is a culture that is created of one sort or another. When it happens in law enforcement, it can be very clear through what the community looks like. Tagging, broken down cars on the roads, next to the curb, or on the grass, on the lawns of homes. You'll see it in when you're driving across the road, the potholes, and you'll see the businesses that are closed because they can't handle the petty theft that occurs within those businesses. You're seeing it in San Francisco. You're seeing it in Oakland and Portland and Seattle and San Diego, where the culture is one of lawlessness, because the culture in those law enforcement agencies is created by the leadership of the city council, the mayor, and the chief of police that are in charge, is that enforcing crime is not the culture. and then what happens is that it feeds into all these other things. You begin to see a demise in the community and in the way that it looks. It's very clear. I mean, we know this, right? So you have the culture is that of not enforcing crime, but supporting criminality and loving criminality. And so that's one type of negative culture that you can see on a community. When you have somebody like Rudy Giuliani in New York in the 70s, who gets voted as mayor, and he comes in and he changes the culture of one of enforcing crime. Broken windows theory becomes a huge part of that change. A computer system that keeps track of criminality, and he goes into meetings every month and brings in these charts that's created by the computer program that shows the amount of crime in specific areas and the number of police officers that are needed to respond to those areas, and that the types of arrests that need to happen, the small crimes, the petty theft that is enforced, the the tagging that's enforced, the small crimes, and you begin to see the bigger crimes begin to become less. When you have a change of culture from the top, the mayor, Rudy Giuliani, you then saw a flourishing New York. And you saw that people were starting to ride the subways again. And you begin to see people going to Central Park again. And you begin to see businesses come back again. And then what happens? Then he gets voted out, or he gets termed out. I'm not sure what ended up happening, but they bring in a different type of leadership who brings in the other kind of culture, the one that I talked about earlier, where it's not important to enforce a crime, but it's more important to support the criminals. And then what do we see? We see it all back down again. So in PYLUSD, the culture, and I think my belief and many parents' belief, is that the focus no longer was on the children and their education. The focus, because we brought in the teachers union into a more prominent position within our school district, just as they've done in other school districts across the United States, and said, you know what, a teachers union, we want you to be a part of what's happening here in our community and help create a culture. But what they did is they created a culture that was more for teachers and less on children, more on what it is that they could do to make their life easier and reduce the workload, and not on increasing the work as how it pertains to the education of our kids. Even paying them more, even paying the president of the local teachers union at the APLE $160,000 a year, and giving her a teacher's title, a teacher's position that doesn't teach, by the way, and paying her to change this culture, and doing it with the support of the school board members and the superintendents. And then when we saw that El Sasser, who's one of the creators of this culture, because there was others before him that began this process, you saw that it, again, the grades in our school, the standards in the school began to plummet and began to go down, even though the parents wanted education. And you saw this little bit of a battle. And that's why I think PYLUSD did a little bit better, is because we had a large number of parents who fought back at home and did more at home with their kids. Like with me, I had my kids go to tutoring to make up for what they weren't getting in the school district, because I saw that they weren't getting educated in the school district. And so because I couldn't homeschool because of our schedule and the number of kids we have, then I had to take an alternative. And that was to, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what's been wrong with my voice lately. Maybe it's because I'm yelling, but you saw that we had the means in many parts of our, so sorry. We have the means of, in the type of adults that live in this, and again, what am I looking for? There's a word for, the tagline for Yorba Linda is the land of gracious living, because there is a higher financial aspect to not only Yorba Linda, but Brea, many parts of Fullerton, and Anaheim Hills, where our school district touches. The parents made up the difference. And so we didn't see the drop in education as they do in, say, the middle of Los Angeles or Baltimore or many parts of Portland and that kind of thing. Is that there are many parts that cannot afford tutoring. There are many parents that both parents have to work, and so they're not at home to help their kids with homework. And so you see that it's deeper in some of those areas than it is in the PYLUSD. So thank God that we do have that prosperity. There you go. There's the word. It just came to my head. The prosperity that we have here gave us a little bit of a leg up. So what we have happening now is because we have 3 school board members who actually care about education and care about kids' health, mentally and physically. The other 2 could care less because they only care about teachers unions. I love teachers and I care about teachers, but we're in the business of educating children. We're not in the business of finding how we can make teachers do less for more. That's the old culture. The old culture is, okay, we're going to bring in all kinds of computer programs so teachers don't have to teach anymore. We're going to do what we can to increase the payroll for teachers. And then we are going to have them do whatever else is they want. They can change curriculum based on their political leanings. They can change curriculums based on their personal indoctrination that they received in universities. And we're going to stand back, and we're really not going to measure how well the kids are doing and look at it in a way that, we'll just do better next year. We're going to look at it as that it's something that can be pushed off, or that it's, we're not as bad as everybody else. We're not as bad as this school in Texas, the school district in Texas, where not one single kid had the grades or the education to graduate. The entire senior class could not graduate because they had created a culture that it's not that important. These other things are more important. And then when it comes time, we'll just figure it out. And we'll panic and we'll say, all right, we're going to add a couple days to the school year. And we're going to see what we can do to Do open book tests, perhaps? Hey, here's the book. All the answers are in the book. Here's the test. Look for the answers. And if you are at least even smart enough to do that, we'll graduate you. That's not education. That's cheating. That is hiding the culture of the lack of education. And we've seen that in so many ways. You can change the stats. You can reduce the need to get a certain level to get an A all you want. Right? So if it took 90%, let's say, I don't know what it is right now, so I'm just going to give this as an example, is that let's say 90%, you had to get 90% of your answers right on tests and quizzes and 90% of your homework turned in, all that kind of stuff to receive an A. Well, what they do is they reduce it down. You know what? Us teachers we've cared more about the teachers, and we had them doing less, and we're making them use these computer programs that really aren't teaching kids. We're going to blame the pandemic, which happened now 4 years ago, whatever it was. And we're going to continue to blame Donald Trump. And so what we're going to do instead of bringing up the education, we're going to reduce it to an 80% to get A's. That will help things. And then it'll make it look like, hey, there's more kids that are getting A's. And so maybe you get an uptick, right? We've seen that in our school board meetings, is that they'll come up, look at more kids are getting A's. More kids are getting B's. Well, that's because you lowered the standard, you nimrods. And parents are going, oh, some parents, not all, us parents were going, no, you lowered the standard. That's why you have more A's. You've not done more. You're not doing better. You've lowered the standard so that now they can get A's. And then the next year they go, you know what? It's 70% to get an A. You only have to do 70% of the work and show up 70% of the time. And now but you're going to get A. Oh, and then we see an uptick. That's the bad culture. We don't have that any longer, at least not for now. And I'm going to get to my warning in just 1 second, but I want to share my screen with you to show, how do I know? Well, I know because I've had a meeting with the superintendent, and he is amazing. He's fantastic. And Hetty and I, my wife, who we have 5 kids in the school district, 2 in elementary, 1 in junior high, and 2 in high school. And he listened. He listened to what we had to say, and he had feedback. And he gave us some thoughts on where he wanted to go, and it was in line where we wanted to go. There's some things that he couldn't tell us, which is perfectly fine. I understand that completely. But the meeting was amazing. He spent an hour with us and listened to us and listened to all of you who sent messages to me over the last, 6 months or year or so, where you talked about what it is that you wanted to see change in the school, what you wanted to have happen in the school to help with your children and their education and some of their needs. Some of the kids have, I don't want to say special needs in the sense that they have mental disorders, but they have special needs in that they're just a little bit slower in math, or a little bit, they have difficulty with, recognizing letters and words and that kind of stuff. And you wanted some of those things addressed, but you don't want it reduced for them. I don't want anything reduced for my kids. I want it increased. I want it to be harder for them to get A's because I want them to work harder to get an A. And I want to have a reason to go to them and say, look at this. When I see them getting a bad grade now, I just look at them and say, you're ridiculous that you're getting a bad grade. There is no reason in moron school that they had created prior to the administration that we have in now. They created a moron school. Anybody with a moron level of thought process could get an A. If you're getting below that, I don't know what to tell you. You've fallen into the trap that you've reduced your energy levels. You've reduced your desire to achieve, and you reduce it down to the lowest denominator. One thing that happens in sports, I'm going to share my screen in 1 second. One thing that happens in sports is that when a team that has talent plays a team that does not have talent, quite often the team with talent will lose to the team without talent, because they go in with a thought process that, I don't have to work as hard. We don't have to hit as hard. We don't have to be as sharp with this next team, because you know what? They're not that good. They're 0-10, and we are 10-0. And so what happens is this team that's 10-0 goes in to play a team that's 0-10, and they lose because they don't participate. They don't play up to the standard that they have created for themselves. They don't believe that they have to work as hard, which is not true. And when you create a culture where kids don't have to work hard, where they don't have to achieve, they are going to perform at a lower level. We see it all the time. We see it all the time in sports. That's just an example. But we do see it in a culture in business. If the business owner creates a culture where people don't have to show up and don't have to be there, what did we see during the pandemic? We have people that don't show up. And now they don't want to show up. Now they don't want to change. Oh, that was kind of nice. Getting paid the same amount of money and not having to wake up and take a shower and change out of my jammies and go to work. Because we created a culture in this country that has created a bunch of losers and not a bunch of winners. So let me now finally go. Sorry. Let me now go to my screen to share. How do I know that the PYLUSD is in the middle of a culture change for education and not indoctrination? You just need to go to their website. Go to PYLUSD.org and you will see this. And that is our website. Let me go ahead and make it full screen here. And this is the homepage. And I just want you what you're not. I'm going to ask you what you don't see. Those of you that are watching or watching the replay, what do you not see on this home screen that you used to see on this home screen? We see children, graduating. We see smiling faces. I don't seem to, up until just a month ago, we saw kids with masks on their faces. And I was going, wait a minute. And the pandemic's been over for over a year, over 2 years, and they still had kids with masks on their faces. We see smiling kids. We see kids playing. And then we're going to see, sports and football. In 1 minute, you're going to see something. We see kids. I hope they're praying there. That'd be awesome if they're praying, but I don't think they are. We see Distinguished Service Awards or Distinguished School Awards, which doesn't mean that much, but we still see it. We see teachers that are happy, administrators, more kids that are smiling. Hold on, we're going to get to that. I must have switched over right after. There we go. What is it? What is this month? June is National Safety Month. Wait a minute. June is National Safety Month? June is National Safety Month. I thought people were trying to tell us June was something else. I forget what it was. No, in our school district, June is National Safety Month. And so that's what you need to remember, that June is National Safety Month. It is nothing else. There's nothing else going on in our schools. Why? Because we need our schools to be safe. That is important. That's something that really connects with what needs to happen at school, is that children need to be safe. Right? We don't need what has to do with somebody's sex, what has to do with somebody's proclivities, what goes on in somebody's home is not something that we need to have happening on our website, nor do we need to have it in our schools. I don't care what the teacher does when the teacher is not at school. I don't care what it is that you do when you're at home. And it doesn't need to be on our website. Today is this month is day 1, June 1st, is day 1 of National Safety Month. That's all you need to know. That's all our kids need to know. So how do I know that there's a culture change? You just go to the website. There are a lot of things happening in the background of the school district, things that are happening. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Oops, there we go. And I'm going to change to this tab here. Oh, actually, let me scroll down. So down here, you got news and announcements. You see here on the left-hand side. And then the first one is that Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District set to expand preschool offerings. I'm just going to read the first two paragraphs, because that's always the most important thing in anything you read, right? It's the attention getter. It's the, what are we going to read about in the rest of the article? But in the first 2 paragraphs, it says the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District is excited to announce the opening of 2 new preschools this fall of 2023. One at Wagner Elementary School in Placentia and the other at Bryant Ranch School in Yorba Linda. It is time. Because we're making a culture change in the PYLUSD to significantly invest in and grow our early childhood education programs so we may better educate our children while attracting and retaining our families and their students into our district, shared Superintendent Dr. Alex Chernis. I hope I pronounced that right. I should have asked him when I talked to him how to pronounce his last name. Research has confirmed time after time that young children who attend high quality, let me say that again, high quality educational programs experience significant strides in language and cognitive development. So you already see in the first two paragraphs from the leadership of this superintendent, from the leadership of our school board members, a culture change that is about the kids. You go to the website, the homepage, the carousel of pictures that goes through is about children, about their education, about what month it is that has to do actually with our kids' education. In this month, it happens to be safety, which is super important. And then the newsletter talks about bringing preschools back, an amazing, important aspect of what needs to happen in our community. So kids can get a positive education, so they can get a strong education is, of course, the first thing that you see in those two paragraphs. So important. It's like the ingredients on a dog food bag. Andy, what does dog food have to do with education? On the ingredients in a dog food bag, the most prominent ingredient is the first ingredient. In 15, 20 years ago, in dog food, the first ingredient was corn. Corn, dogs cannot process corn. Why did dog food companies put corn in dog food? Because it's cheap and it fills and it creates a bag that's really big, so that when somebody spends $25 on a big, gigantic bag of dog food, the human believes that they're buying value, that their money is going a long way because there's a lot of dog food in the bag. And their belief is that they're saving money and yet giving their dog food that they can eat. What they didn't know is that because dogs cannot process corn, and corn was the primary ingredient, that it was doing nothing for their dog. Nothing for their dog. And when you put the CTA, the NEA, and the APLE in charge of education, it's like putting corn as the first ingredient in the dog food. Is that the first ingredient is the concern about teachers and administrators and all the top heavy part of our district, but yet you're getting nothing for the education of our kids. That's like the dog food. And so when we look at the website and we see the first ingredient is kids, the first ingredient is education, the first ingredient is caring about the safety of our kids, then that is the first ingredient in our school district. It's changing the culture. And when you're now starting the next school year with this new superintendent, with the increase of preschool, where they're going to get good quality education in a preschool, where some of it is paid for those people that need it paid for, which is so important in some areas of our community. When we get down into Fullerton and Placentia and some of these areas over there, where the income is just there's no other way to put it, and that's just the way that it is in this school district. That in those schools, you're going to have to make it affordable, and in some cases make it free, so that the parents know that their kids are getting educated. And why else? So that the parents can go to work. Yes, I know. It sounds really bad, but it's not. That's why we need childcare. Childcare is important for young parents who also need to work. And when they can count on the school district to take their children and to care for their children for that period of time when they're at work, wow, they're also going to get educated. They're not going to get indoctrinated. So parents are going to be more likely to put their young children in a school who's going to educate and not indoctrinate, who doesn't put teachers first, who doesn't put administrators first, who does not put nonsense at first. And now you're changing the community because you're changing the culture of the school district. How important is this? So incredibly important. And this is because of the school district superintendent that we have put in place. Let me go on to the next one. And it's just going to show you what a difference this makes when you have the right leadership on the school board and you have the right leadership as a superintendent. The next article is LCAP overview. Let me just read the first two paragraphs again. And it's just going to, again, I'm just trying to share with you how I know the culture is changing. The Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, is a component of the local control funding formula. Under all local educational agencies are required to prepare an LCAP, or LCAP is what I've heard them call it. The plan describes how districts intend to meet annual goals of all pupils, again, first ingredient, pupils, including specific activities to address state and local priorities. This comprehensive document is created through the collective input of Placentia Yorba Linda USD community. Is constructed around the district vision and mission, the current one, not the old one, the current one, and is comprised of 5 district focus areas. What is first? Academic achievement, number 1 ingredient in this culture change. Effective instruction and leadership, number 2 ingredient. That's the second most important ingredient in our culture change. 3, engaged community. Yes, making sure the parents are involved, not called terrorists as our government calls us. Engaged community is not terrorism. It's called parenting. 4, safe and respectful environment. Yes, optimized resources to ensure students are college and career ready upon graduation. Are those students in Texas, are they college ready? Are they industry? Well, I'm sorry, what was it? Already forgot. Is it career ready? Are they career? No, they couldn't even graduate. Because their culture is not based on education. Their culture is based on what can we do for the parents to make, or the teachers to make them work less, but yet make it appear that they're working hard. What can we do to pay them more for doing less? What can we give them in the classroom so that they can sit on their asses and do nothing? Oh, I don't know, these moronic computer programs where the kids stare at a computer screen while the parents are fighting to get their kids off of computer screens. That's why Texas failed in that school district. To have one child graduate from that school district. None. The culture change is happening here in the PYLUSD, and that is thanks to Leandra, Sean, and Todd, and Alex. I should use this title, Dr. Alex. These 4 people are creating a culture change. Forget about the other dimwits. The Linda... forget her name, the person who's in charge of the Apple, APLE. She's got to be out. She's got to be gone. They may keep her as president, but we can't be paying her. Hopefully that will change. Buck and Anderson, they're just going to be potted plants, let's hope, in the next meetings. Hopefully we'll get them voted out at the next election. We got to find candidates. Anybody who lives in their area, please let us know. Let me know. I'll make sure that we get behind you and support you if you are a candidate that is for this culture change, this positive culture change. But we're seeing some really positive things, and I just wanted to share it with you because I do know some things that are occurring. The warning. Let's see. I got some comments here. Let me see. Somebody said, Sherry Luna Swingler says, how do we reach out to you about things happening? I think I did see a message just as I was going live. I saw a couple messages come from you. So it's through Messenger is probably the best way. And you can send me an email also at andyfalcojimenez@gmail.com. andyfalcojimenez@gmail.com. That's my email address. And so either way, I will see it. But I did see a message come through just as I was preparing the show. So that should have happened. She says, I have something to share with you that was shared with me that's happened this week that is disturbing. Yes. And so there's my warning. Thank you, Sherry, for that. The warning is that doesn't mean that these people are going to just lay down. The people that want to indoctrinate our kids, the people that want to sexualize our kids, the people that are lost. There are teachers that are lost, and they think, there are a couple that I do believe that are good people, but for whatever reason they're lost, and they've been brainwashed into thinking that no, we have to sexualize the kids. No, I was taught that at the university. I taught that at Cal State Fullerton. I was taught that at Chapman University. No, I have to do that. My professors told me that I have to do that. And it's in their head, and it's the right thing to do. I don't want to be a hateful person. I don't want my other teachers to hate me. I don't want the teachers union to shun me. And they're so worried. Where are you, man? Or lady? Because there's 2 genders, by the way. Where are you? Come back to us. Come back to reality. It's still going to happen. So the warning is: do not stop. Do not stop showing up to the school board meetings. Do not stop. Do not stop sharing the things that like Sherry wants to share with me. We had a school teacher at El Dorado who was teaching the importance of massaging the prostate, teaching this in one of the classes. and the importance it was to homosexuality. And I'm not going to show the video. It's been shared with the superintendent. I shared it with the superintendent. It's whatever happens, I'm sure whatever needs to happen will happen this time. In the past, it would have been ignored. With Matthews and El Sasser, they would have probably given the teacher of the month award. And Buck would have been up there with their arms around them, hugging them and saying, "Oh, you're teaching that prostate massage. Oh, that was bold. That was awesome. We need to make sure that you get some special plaque at the PYLUSD. Not in this culture." I pray. Now, again, there are certain things that I was a police officer for 21 years. There are things that cannot happen fast enough, and there's things that may not happen because of tools the teacher union have put into place to guard against getting rid of miserable, horrible teachers or lost teachers, that they just need to be shaken up and they need to be fired. Sometimes the best thing you can do for people that are lazy, sick, lame, and lazy is fire them. That is the best thing. And I know that sounds harsh, but as an employer, I employed 400 people, is that sometimes the best thing you can do for an employee is to fire them or suspend them. And it's just the truth. Something needs to happen to wake them, or they'll continue along their lazy route. They'll continue along their misguided route. And these things need to happen. We need to find Linda Mannion. That's her name. It just came to me. The president of the APLE, who's just a tool of the CTA and the NEA. And she's a useful idiot who's getting paid 160 grand to indoctrinate our kids through all the tools that they have. And then she pretends that she cares about kids. She cares nothing about kids. She actually cares nothing about them. She cares about herself and her $160,000 salary. And she'll put on the persona and the mask that she puts on at the school board meetings and sit there and act like she cares. She doesn't care. She doesn't care. And Sherry says yes. And so perhaps that's the same video. I was sent the video. I forwarded it on to the superintendent, as I'm sure other people did. And it's been addressed. So before, when I would share such things, I would think I'm just sharing it, but nothing's going to happen. But I still have to do my part, just as you still have to do your part. I know it seemed for years that you send an email to the district, you send the email to the school board members, and you'd get nothing back. And you felt like you were ignored. I promise you, you probably were being ignored before, but you're not being ignored now. It will not be ignored. You may not get a response because sometimes, like this video, I got it from several people, and it's not that it's getting ignored. It's just that we lose track. It's kind of, if you're on Facebook and your birthday shows up, you know how you get so many Facebook happy birthdays, and you get people sharing memes and sending you private messages and texting you and emailing you now. You can't. It's impossible to respond to everybody. And I feel so bad on my birthday because I go, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. You just got to give that blanket. That blanket Facebook post. Thank you to everyone who sent me a happy birthday, because you can't. And sometimes you miss your own family members and you miss your closest friend. Hey, did you not see that I sent you happy birthday? No, I saw it. I just couldn't respond to everybody. And so it doesn't matter. Continue to share. Continue to speak out. Continue to show up at school board meetings and stop being silent. If you've been silent, especially those teachers who message me all the time and said, "Hey, I need you to keep this confidential. Nobody can know that I sent you this, or nobody can know that I told you about this." I get them all the time. I see people out at different places that I go to, Tilly's and Costco and all the different restaurants that we attend. Teachers come up to me all the time. "Thank you for these shows that you do. Thank you for speaking out. Thank you for showing up at the school board meetings." But you can't tell anybody that I'm talking to you. You can't tell anybody that I sent you this. And it's important that you stop doing that. You're in a place now that you can do that in this culture change that we have. I know it's going to feel funny at first, but please feel strong and feel emboldened to be able to speak out now. So do it. Sherry, thank you for joining me, and thank you for sharing what it is you want to share. And I will make sure and take a look. It's probably that same video. And thank you. But continue to do that, regardless if you think that I don't think that it's something that I've already received. So I didn't want that message. It's hard. And I don't say it very often because I don't want people to think, well, he's just going to get it from a bunch of other people anyway. No, Don't assume that I'm getting it from other people. Send it anyway. I'm just telling you why you may not get a response. But send it anyway. I don't care how many times I've seen it. You know, I was in the dog business and still am in the dog business for 40 years. I get every funny dog meme. I get every dog video where a dog has eaten somebody or the dog does some stupid trick. I get all of them. And that's okay. I love it. But don't stop sending the things you think it's important for me to see so that I can make sure that the people that need to see it. And, but the culture change is happening, and it's because of you. It's because of you guys that had stayed strong and didn't give up. And I knew it seemed easy. 4 years of fighting, and 3.5 years, it didn't seem like much was happening. It was happening. It just took longer. Imagine being in LA, Oakland, Baltimore, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, San Diego. It's going to take probably another 4 years. And it needs districts like the PYLUSD to show the rest of the world an example of what a district looks like that cares about education, not the one that we've had. The one we have had for the last 3 years was just like the others. They cared more about indoctrination. They cared less about education. They cared more about teachers, and they cared less about children. And that's changing because of this culture change. All right, my friends, stay strong, continue to fight, continue to show up, and don't stop speaking out. All right, my friends, love you guys. God bless. Take care.